Well, wouldn't you know it, it happened again. Another member of the world's most oppressed, a member of the safest community in the world, a member of the community that is constantly under attack, according to mainstream media, has done something so heinous. I would argue it is almost worse than what happened at that Minnesota church. I think an argument could be made that it is far more evil and that it is far more demonic. And people keep saying, they'll say, well, why do you keep reporting on this? It's not an epidemic. You know, look at all these other crimes that are perpetrated by other groups of people. And I want to start by pointing out this little thing that left-wing media never understands or doesn't want to understand. It's called per capita. Have you heard of it? I know you have, because you're a smart, good-smelling viewer of the quartering. Almost 7% of you are now female. Shout out, ladies. By the way, if you're a viewer who's just a casual viewer and aren't subscribed yet, something like 30% of my viewers aren't subscribed, please make today the day. You create an account and you follow the channel, whether it's on YouTube or Rumble, wherever you watch me. It would mean a lot, and it helps you it helps you find my videos and helps YouTube know that people actually give a crap about my channel, even though I cover topics that YouTube doesn't want covered. In the United States, what percentage of the population do you think is trans? Right? It's about 0.6%, which would be about, what? 1.5 million people spread across the entire United States. Now, that's people who identify as trans, according to Pew Research. Now, how many of them say they are? How many of them actually have gender dysphoria? I don't know. Okay. But we are talking about, outside of albinos, one of the smallest groups in America. And yet they are continually perpetrating heinous crimes. You know what I mean? So as a percentage, it is extremely high. That group of people is extremely likely to perpetrate crimes, more likely than almost any other group of people as a percentage. Black males, African-American males represent something like 9% of the population and commit close to 35-40% of total crime. I would say they're probably number one apex predator according to data. Okay, hashtag not all, but you know, the whole 1350 thing that people say 13% of the population was 50% of the crimes. If you actually dial it down, you know, they'll say that's African American, but if you really look at who's committing the crimes, it's mostly African American men. So that percentage drops to like 8 or 9%, and something like 44% of all crimes. It's very, you know, it's something that nobody wants to talk about. It's something YouTube never wants to talk about. You know, it's crazy. But if we look at trans people, we're talking about 0.5 to 0.6% of the population committing nearly 100% of these mass events. Okay. And here's some data on that. Here is the big problem. Here's data from John Lefevre. This is the percentage of U.S. adults identifying as trans. There's nothing natural about it. Okay. From when they started tracking it, let's say 1940, right? Between 1940 and 1990, that percentage wavered between 0.4 and 0.6%, right? Then somehow, in 1996, 1997 to 2000, 2004, somehow there was a, 100% increase? More than that. Went from 0.4 to almost 4%. 1,000% increase. This is not evolution. This is a social contagion. Now, if that number goes past 2004, 2005, it's probably even higher. You know what I mean? This is a big part of it. A lot of people who are suffering from mental problems or mental illness, they get lumped in here. They get bought in. What happened in the 80s? It looks like a bubble. Social contagions are artificial, so it actually makes perfect sense. I think we're probably at a bubble. I would probably short this stock if it were me, because now we have this. Elon Musk saying extreme level of trans attacks. This is a severe problem. Now, I have to be somewhat careful in how I describe this because it is so over the top and vile. Okay. Daniel Senecal, a trans man or trans woman, a man pretending to be a woman, has now been arrested after he reportedly broke into a family's house and did something absolutely heinous to the toddler. A toddler had to have surgical repair on both of its, in both points of entry, I'll say, of a young female. Had to have it surgically repaired from a biological man who pretends to be a biological woman. Finally figured it out. They're trans. Now here's Valentina Gomez saying, all peds hide under the LGBTQ flag. They're a danger to kids in America. I agree. And people on the left are like, yeah, but why don't we focus on men? It's men. Well, yeah, I mean, that they're also obviously, here we have trans folks' attacks are far above normal levels. Here we go. Rates of SA. Women, not many. Men, obviously many. Men who identify as women incarcerated represent 92 out of 48,000. 1,916 per million. When men represent 395 per million, women at 3 per million. Now, the reason the women number is so low is obviously they don't offend at the same rates, but also they don't get charged. They don't get charged the same. Look at all these teachers, the South Park even did an episode. You know what I mean? Like South Park even did an episode on it where they're like, nice. Women don't get convicted. Men are like, cool. And they don't report it. Because like, yes, sweet. I banged my teacher when I was 13. I'm a hero. Right? But it is, the baby needed to go through hours of reconstructive surgery due to damage, internal damage. That's what this monster did. Again, here's the story. A shocking case has set social media ablaze. A 25-year-old man named Daniel Senecal has been charged with breaking into a family's home and doing something absolutely heinous to a sleeping toddler. Police and paramedics were called on Sunday after first responders discovered signs of forced entry into the house and a seriously injured child. Senecal, who identifies as trans and uses she/her pronouns on social media, was quickly identified after a witness came forward with surveillance footage, reported Redux. Redux always does great work, by the way. Facing multiple charges, including, well, obviously. Locals expressed confusion over the stranger description. Another mother in the area revealed that Senecal had attacked her son back in 2021 and served part of just an 18-month sentence and was released 6 months early. Senecal's Facebook page shows that he had recently adopted a trans identity and referred to himself as Danny, using pronouns she, her, and displays both LGBTQ pride and pride flags in his biography. I mean, the thing is, I think two things are true. You have a community that may have a propensity for this. I mean, I'm just talking about the statistics, okay? You also have a community that protects this behavior and provides a shield, right? I guarantee you, like, I know of all of the gay people I know, which, isn't many, but I'd say it's maybe 5 or 6, none of them would condone this behavior. So I don't want to say like, well, all gay people support this, because that's just not true. But it does provide a shield to where people with sick desires and sick behavior and sick minds can kind of hide in plain sight. Look at what's happened at our pride parades from, the early pride parades in the 2000s to what they do now. Now they have kiddie pools where people piss on each other. I'm not kidding you. I don't think you'd see that at a pride parade in the 90s. It's the definition of a slippery slope. We have this guy breaking into a house, not once, but twice, this trans individual, and doing horrendous things to small children. Now, under the current local law, trans inmates are generally housed according to their self-declared gender, unless authorities determine serious safety or health concerns. The Federal Correction Services there formalized this policy back in 2017 and reinforced it in 2022. So this biological male will be housed with biological females. Now, I'm gonna guess that, given this individual is, nobody else in prison is going to be a small child. They're probably going to be safe. But we need to start looking into this. And by the way, the LGBTQ community needs to start looking into this and start excommunicating these people. Look at how they treat Harvey Milk, right? Harvey Milk liked him very young. He liked him so young that, in my opinion, he damaged a young boy that he was dating so bad that he took his own life. Yet the U.S. Postal Service has a stamp commemorating this creep's life. Most gay people think he was so great. He was a pet hiding in that community. But, I can't police it. I'm not a part of that community. It's the same thing I say about the black community. You have to police it. I can't. When the community says this kind of behavior is okay, then I can't make it not okay. This is absolutely gross, horrible, and I hope this creep rots in prison, but I'm guessing they'll be out in just a few months. I hope you're informed by this video. If you were, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.